but you have a gripe with Mel Kiper. What's going on with Mr. Mel? This is the first time I heard his name in forever outside of the draft. I thought he was Mr. Irrelevant. Maybe he's the last pick in the draft.
Yeah, we usually don't hear from him until like February, right?
Yeah.
So he's in the news for saying he thinks the NFL should do away with the too high safety defensive look. Um, Basically because quarterbacks suck and they can't beat it. Haven't they relaxed the rules enough against the defense? You know,
Yep.
you can't hit the quarterback, you can't drive him into the ground, you can't make contact. They've made things so much easier for the offense, and now you're gonna dictate how they can line up their players. That's utterly ridiculous. That's one of the dumbest takes I've heard since Cheryl Swoops.
Damn, that's not too long ago either. But, and Mel Kiper to come up with something like that is ridiculous. And then he talked about, from what I've read, he talked about, I've seen the best of the NFL from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I know, wait a minute, the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they also had problems moving the ball. It wasn't a passing offensive team back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Well, the 80s is when it started going forward a lot more than previous decades. The 60s, as we know, and the 70s especially, you had the steel curtain ruling the roost back then. They weren't letting anyone get deep. In fact, they weren't letting you run. They weren't letting you do anything. And then you had other teams that had defensive presence like the Raiders. So I don't know what he means about seeing the best of the NFL offensively. Well, this same best of the NFL was Bullet Bob Hayes being the reason why there was a zone defense. The reason why you have these deep players now playing in their Tampa 2 or whatever they're calling it these days. But this doesn't make sense. I think it does add to people thinking that the NFL probably isn't as good. Quarterbacks may not be as good as they were years ago. And I think maybe it's what contributes to it are the players who don't sit and wait their turn like they used to do. I mean, it's been like that for a while, though, but I think it's coming to a head now to where we can see this. A huge cycle and a huge sample size has passed to where we can see that these players getting out there in their rookie years or halfway through their rookie year, forced in and trying to get your money's worth just to know what's going on. And we're getting these results. Bryce Young is primarily one of the cases right now. He's the case study for what Mel Kiper is saying. Well, for what I'm saying in terms of being quarterbacks who aren't ready and you may have talent, is just not what it used to be when someone like Steve Young
it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned quarterbacks not being ready, because I was going to mention I saw Tom Brady on someone's podcast a couple of days ago, and he was saying he doesn't understand why all these rookie quarterbacks, all these young quarterbacks are just being thrown into the fire. He's like, I didn't start right away, and if I did start right away, I might have had a totally different career. He's like, I watched games and I see this play, and after that, I'm like, well, why didn't he check out of that? That play was never going to work against that defensive setup. So he's saying it takes time to learn that. He didn't know that. He wouldn't have known that week one if Drew Bledsoe wasn't there, but he had to learn that. He said that's what he did. That's what Peyton did. That's what Drew Brees did. Phillip Rivers does. I mean, he named all these guys, and he's saying the next generation of quarterbacks, they're just being thrown out there, and they're not checking out the plays that everybody else can see aren't going to work. So, I think Mel Kiper might be piggybacking off that, but taking it to a whole nother level, saying, well, these guys they can't figure it out, so let's make it easier for them. Come on, man. Like society, they need to figure it out.
That's a microcosm of the education system. They can't figure it out. Let's lower the average now to make sure that 75 is no longer average. 70 or even 69 is average now. I mean, hey, that's a microcosm of society, the educational system, going into sports or otherwise. But anyways, as far as these quarterbacks right now, they get in, I think, because things have changed. Things aren't, even for Tom Brady, things have changed from when he first had gotten in until now, because I think the money is so much bigger now than it was back then. And if you're paying this quarterback the way you're paying him, even as a rookie, and you know what? They're getting paid less now than they were getting paid before. Remember, before they were just throwing the whole future away with a first pick overall or another pick in the first round, and they changed it because of the CBA to where they're not getting that huge amount of money. They're getting that they're getting good money, but it's on a scale now. Yeah, they're getting good money, but it's not like it used to be. But still, I think the urgency is there because of fans and because you want to see what you have sooner than later. Peyton Manning was thrown out there right away, so I don't know. I mean, he was thrown out there right away. That's why he had the interception, the touchdown ratio. But I think he's more the exception than the rule. And Tom Brady, I was wondering, even when he got his chance, and I saw how good he was because I watched him in college. I thought he was a good player. I thought Brian Greasy was better.
I don't even remember him in college.
Jeff Drysdale, I thought was better. But or not, you know what, Jeff Drysdale, maybe even the same kind of guy. But when I saw him play, it wasn't anything that stood out for me to say, this dude's going to get it one day. And guess what? No one else thought that either because he would have been in the first round instead of the fifth round. But, and as it turned out, when Drew Brees did go down when Mo Lewis hit him and Tom Brady came in and the rest is history.
Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe, God, all these Drews, man. Drew Cuomo. But all these people coming out, you know, I'm thinking about, wait a minute, Bill Belichick is now getting credit for being this great coach because remember, he was on the hot seat before that all ended up happening. But I was like, he's supposed to be this great coach. He sees this guy in practice every day, and he didn't think to put him in or at least give him a shot, even though Drew Bledsoe showed that he was a good, solid veteran. This was a different than good, solid veteran as we turned out to see all of these Super Bowls, the leadership, everything that comes along with being Tom Brady. You're supposed to know this thing. But anyway, he was a fifth rounder, so I thought that, they could wait their time. But right now, the only quarterback in that situation deliberately is Michael Penix in Atlanta.
In what situation? Oh, sitting?
The situation to be able to sit and wait.
Sitting, because they have Kirk Cousins.
He's looking solid right now. He's even better than solid from last week's game. And
that's true.
JJ McCarthy, well, if it weren't for injury, he'd be in there right now instead of Sam Darnold. And the way Sam Darnold is playing right now, he looks like he's playing better than he's played in his career that I can remember.
Well, let's keep in mind the opponents.
You know what? Well, I
makes
keep
a
going
difference.
In the NFL, it's hard to win in the NFL, to get a win week to week, because we could see a team that doesn't look like they have a hope, like Arizona, playing like they did last week. Now, this may be an entirely different Arizona team than we're used to seeing, but as fun as they look and the numbers they put up and the way it looks like going forward, man, if they keep this up and Kyler Murray continues doing what he's been doing, this team here is going to be another team that we can look at and be like, damn, all of this just came together overnight. It's like the 45-year overnight millionaire kind of thing. You know what I mean? He became a millionaire overnight at 45 years. But anyway.
Yeah, you know what? I got another gripe. People are bashing Caleb Williams already. Like, I even seen a thumbnail calling him a bust after 2 games. Come on, man. How retarded are you?